Rocky.
Hi, Rocky. This is Darren for the interview. Still a good time?
Yeah. No worries. How's it going?
You know, okay, all things considered. But what about you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, just kind of going through the daily list of to do.
Right. Is there anything that you're able to do for your company right now remotely?
Well, I run a couple different companies. So, obviously with my lessons, I think being like the kind of the paramount kind of thing that I got my hands in and that I do. And then obviously while you're calling with in regards to the interview, that is on hold. I can still shape. I'm still shaping. So McKinnon Shapes and Designs, I still do. And even with surf and sup lessons, I can kind of get ready and do things remotely. Like, I have a home office, so there's, plans of marketing and how I'm going to approach, the summer when things start to get back into full swing. But I can't go do lessons. I'm not allowed to.
Right. Now, what brought you to Huntington Beach in the first place?
I grew up a half an hour from Huntington Beach. So my mom owned or bought a condo, I think in 93, 92 or 93. And that was kind of our summer kind of, or like our kind of weekend kind of getaway place. And that's how I got introduced to the ocean. Like I used to go maybe twice a year, to the beach, living a little bit inland. But when she got that, like I was at the beach a lot more often and definitely spent more time in the water, started to bodyboard and get involved in the ocean more so once she got that place, got that condo.
I first learned about Surf City USA because I had interviewed Dean Torrance. Is that somebody that you've interacted with directly?
Yes. Yeah, Dean's great. He's a great ambassador for Huntington Beach. It's amazing. Always looking to do things that are going to put Huntington in a good light. And yeah, he's been tremendous. He's a big part of I met him through the Huntington Beach Visitors Bureau, and he was back then a big key part of the committee. So I spoke to him several times, and I had my outrigger surf canoe idea years ago that I started a couple years ago, but I had this idea like 15 years ago, and he fully backed it. He was fully wanted to see it happen. So I don't see or talk to Dean that much anymore, but I had definitely some good run-ins with Dean.
And where did the idea and when did the idea come about for adaptive surfing?
My dad passed away when I was young due to cancer, and I was never smart enough to grow up to cure cancer. That just wasn't in the cards as my purpose to be. So I grew up, my mom worked for Mayor Bradley in City Hall in LA. And I was exposed to a lot of public service, giving back to the community, volunteering. And so that was a part of my upbringing of being a service to your community and doing what you can to help others, especially those others in need. So when I became pro surf guy and making boards and everything and kind of doing my own thing, there was always a part of me that was trying to find a way to give back. And I joined a surf club in Malibu that I was dating my son's mom at the time years ago. She lived in Beverly Hills, so I was up in that area quite a bit. And the surf club I was involved with in Huntington had kind of dissolved so much, or just kind of going on a little hiatus. I'd been a part of that club, and we had put together a really cool surf contest where we raised money for the surf museum, and that was awesome. But it was just I just felt like we weren't doing enough, and it was just not. There was just a couple core volunteers, and it just seemed like it wasn't going anywhere. So when I joined the Malibu Board Riders Club, because I was offered an opportunity to surf for the team, but also approached to help out with the day with a program they called Day at the Beach, which is where they take kids from the camp at that time, from Camp Ronald McDonald for Good Times. They took those kids, and all these kids at Camp Ronald McDonald for Good Times had different severities of cancer. So it was right in line kind of with what, my dad died of cancer. Now I get to help these kids and put a smile on their face for at least a day, take their worries away and have them embrace the ocean and surfing and have a great time. So through my talent with professional surfing, and riding longboards, I switched over to riding tandem boards for these events, which wasn't a big stretch for me because I was already riding, kind of, bigger boards competitively. So jumping onto a bigger board, I was somewhat comfortable with. So then I jumped into this tandem surfing role with our club, our surf club, Malibu Board Riders, and did that. And it was great, very rewarding. And just, I felt like I had definitely found some way that I can give back, like within my power. I was like, okay, cool. This is something I can do. And through that, felt that one day a year wasn't enough, right? To get to be a part of something and do something magnificent for one day for a group of people was awesome. But one day was enough. I was young. I had enough time to donate and volunteer and do more. And I was seeking to do that. And right when I was just kind of putting that out, thinking about that, one of the guys that helped put on that event is called called Ride a Wave. They're up. It was the guy that started Ride a Wave actually helped start the Malibu Board Riders Club, but had moved up to Santa Cruz and was doing his nonprofit there. He's a firefighter up there, but he would come down to help out, work our day at the beach. Well, that gentleman, Danny Cartazzo, had a partner named Brooks Lambert. Well, Brooks Lambert broke off and did his own adaptive surfing program and adaptive program for special needs people called Best Day and the Best Day Foundation. So Brooks contacted me and he said, "Hey, Rocky, I'm starting a chapter. We have a couple different chapters, and I'm starting a chapter in Orange County. And obviously Huntington Beach located in Orange County. He's like, I would love for you to be a part of this chapter and also be the head of water safety and kind of our head waterman." And I was like, okay. And, what does this consist of? And he's like, we're going to start off with a couple events a year and we'll see where it leads to. But that was just kind of it was just kind of like my calling, right? It was just like kind of a matured at that time and was looking at that time to be a part of something, and then got involved. And at that time, I was just doing tandem surfing, right? And that's just the art of basically surfing. You're picking the person or that you're riding with up from under their arms, and you're holding them and you're embracing them, kind of like figure skating, or I always tell the ladies, kind of Dancing with Stars, but on waves, right? So you're picking that person up, and you're tandem surfing. So you're together using your weight as one to ride the wave and control the board as you're riding the wave. But you have to, in order to do tandem surfing, you have to have some type of strength to hold yourself up, right? You have to be able to stand up on your own, and somewhat be cognizant to be able to do that. And so that was kind of my expertise for a period of years. And then, but Danny Cartazzo had invented this board with a shaper up in Santa Cruz, Bob Pearson, called the chair board. So it's a little bit bigger, larger board. Tandem boards roughly go from 11 foot to 12 and a half feet. And this board is 15 feet. And what it does is it actually has a carbon fiber race car seat attached to it. So you can now take out people with full non-op abilities. So if you have somebody who's paraplegic, quadriplegic, or any kind of muscle dystrophy where they cannot stand on their own 2 feet, they can't stand up under their own power, and you could stick them, throw them in this chair, and then go surf with you. So I had seen Danny pilot this chair, and it was very kind of overwhelming, and it's, wielding this big board and with this chair, big responsibility and a lot going on, and always just gave the utmost respect to him for doing so. But I hadn't and Danny had talked to me about eventually training me on that board because he knew my credibility. I'm a little bit larger in stature, 6'2", that time probably 185 pounds or 195 pounds. And so he thought I would be a good candidate to train on that board. Well, by the time Best Day got up and running, they got access to I think they bought one of the used boards from Danny of these chair boards, and then had another one made. Brooks Lambert wanted me to pilot that particular board and be in charge of that. So I then became the chairboard surfer in charge of taking kids out on the chairboard. And that was my responsibility, a very unique responsibility, because not too many people obviously have the wherewithal and the experience and the talent, so to speak, to ride a 15-foot board with somebody else on top of it. So
yeah,
it was, so a responsibility and a kind of a task that I was very much ready for and was excited to take part in. And, you're taking a segment of the population, right? Our population that normally would never even think that they have the opportunity to be able to go surfing and ride waves. And now you're able to stick them right out there with everybody else and give them the same opportunities. Now, obviously they can't paddle themselves in, but they still feel the same exhilaration of paddling out through the waves, paddling as a wave comes in and you're paddling, you get the excitement. Okay, here we go. We're about to catch a wave. So they get that anticipation, that excitement. And then obviously, the thrill of dropping into a wave, and then of course riding a wave. Those are all things that prior they weren't an experience that was able to be had by these people. So for me to be able to present that and make it accessible and provide that experience, obviously first starting through Best Day, that was amazing, right? And then that's where I've really found kind of my calling and my purpose. So it was like, okay, this is what I would love to integrate this into my lesson program. And actually Brooks Lambert, like before I got my contract, I was already doing lessons, because at a period of time there was no contracts that the city needed or wanted, and it was kind of the Wild West where every ex-pro surfer was doing lessons. Well, of course they buckled down on that because they wanted to have licensed people that had insurance and that were professional and put safety as the utmost priority. And so I missed the first round of that. Continued to do lessons kind of, I guess kind of under the radar, so to speak. And then when the next round came that I was able to submit my application, my proposals for Huntington Beach, I did so. And therefore, I gave myself an opportunity to get a contract and then do my lesson program down there. And one of the things I put in stipulation, I put in my lesson proposal was I was going to bring to Huntington the first ever adaptive surfing program, which going back to Brooks Lambert actually told me to do. He's like, Rocky, you need to do this and provide this service to your community. And I was like, well, that's why I volunteer. And if I did, like that's what I want to do, is just have it accessible and whatever, because I feel special needs community already suffers from enough challenges. And he quickly pointed out that, like, because I have my son now is 16 years old. He's like, hey, wouldn't you do something great for your son and pay for it? Great experience. And I was like, of course I would. And he was like, and I have. And he's like, well, why would it be different for the special needs community? He's like, a lot of these people have the means to be able to hire you. They just don't, but there's just not a person like you available. And so it made a lot of sense. So, at that time, a few years ago, you couldn't come to Huntington Beach, let's say like today on a Thursday. And let's say, in the morning when the conditions are good, and let's say the waves, there's not big surf. Let's say it's 1 to 2 to 3 foot, which is the realm in which I operate. Let's say it's a good day for doing adaptive. Well, if a family came, let's say from out of town somewhere, and they showed up and let's say they have a loved one with special needs. A few years ago, they couldn't hire somebody like myself to take their loved one out surfing. Now, since I've been contracted and I've brought my adaptive program to Huntington Beach, that is now a program and experience that's available to the special needs community. At one time wasn't. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I know the city's excited about that, and being all inclusive and providing another segment of the community to participate in what Surf City offers is exciting. Visitor bureau's excited about it. The city hall's excited. And of course I am, because I get to go have fun with these people, and I love what I do. I love to share my passion with others. So this is just another facet of that. So it's amazing. It's really, really a great thing that I get to be a part of.
I was recently watching a concert festival put on by Sammy Hagar that was in Huntington Beach. It was on Access TV, but I haven't been to your city yet. For somebody who hasn't yet been there, assuming everything reopens as planned in the very near future, what are some of the places that they should be checking out?
Well, obviously the beach. I think one of our key attributes and characteristics of Huntington Beach is our beach, and what makes it so special, right? A beach, right? Every coastal community has a beach, right? Well, what I love about Orange County is I feel like it's one of the last bastions of space. You look at LA and in this high density kind of developments that are going on all across the United States, you're kind of one on top of each other, and the beaches tend to be very crowded there. We have 8 miles of spacious beach. Now, of course, around Huntington Beach Pier can get a little crowded. It's popular. The restaurants are there. The pier is an exciting draw. The surf is good right along the pier. And then you have Dog Beach, which is really unique, where you can bring your dogs down to the Huntington Cliffs area and bring your dogs down, which can get crowded also. But then there's also a bunch of areas too where you can go down and have some space to yourself. And I think when people go on vacation or are wanting to get away, right? Or even if you're on a work retreat or a sales meeting or something like that, you can go down in the morning and go for a nice walk on the beach and have it virtually to yourself, which a lot of other places I don't think have that amenity. And of course, during the months, through summer, I would say, June through August, September, that summer break period, it is definitely crowded, and it gets very crowded during middle to afternoon part of the day. But our weather, especially I would say the fall, is kind of like, I love the fall. It's still beautiful, but kind of everybody goes back to work and back to school. So I selfishly get my beach back. But that's a beautiful time of year also, and kind of get our Indian summers where the weather still stays nice well into the fall, and the beaches are virtually empty. So I would say that would be kind of the key, I think, thing that sets us apart, is our beautiful beaches, and all the amenities are super close by too. It's like you walk across the beach and you can have it to yourself, and it's a little somewhat quiet and nice. You hear the waves crashing. But yet you walk across the street and there's all sorts of places to stay, places to eat, places to shop now with the Pacific City. One of my favorite restaurants, Duke's Restaurant, that embodies the surf culture. And the father of surfing, Duke Hanamoku, is right there by the pier, and it has a gorgeous view of the pier and of the surf. So there's some really beautiful places to go and see that are all just kind of right there, and you're still centrally located. Like for people that come here to Southern California and want to go to LA and want to check out Hollywood or travel down to San Diego, Orange County is smack dab in the middle of them both. So if the kids want to go to SeaWorld or Legoland, we're only 4 45 minutes to an hour away, and then we're only 45 minutes to an hour away from Hollywood. So we're really kind of centrally located, which I think is just a really great amenity to have when you're traveling, is to be centrally located, and then Disneyland is 20 minutes up Beach Boulevard, and down Catella, and then you have Knott's Berry Farm, another amusement park, which is 15 minutes up Beach Boulevard. So I would say, Huntington Beach definitely has that kind of draw that I feel is just, for somebody traveling, is a really good place to come and do business or get away from everything.
So in closing, any last words for the kids?
I would say if you're coming to Surf City and you haven't surfed before or have an inclination to go surfing, it's one of our most beautiful resources, and we have some amazing, talented instructors, and I, of course, like to think I'm one of those. That's your opportunity to X off a bucket list item. Definitely go surfing and try it and get out there, whether you've never done it before or you want to get back out there. We have surf year round, and the water can be colder, but we have wetsuits and provide that. And I provide the smiles, so come on out and have a great time and enjoy something that you normally wouldn't probably have the opportunity to take part in.
Paltrocast.